Greetings, dear viewer. Welcome to my twisted take on It Takes Two, 2021's Game of the Year. The first time I played it was the PlayStation 4 version on the PlayStation 5. The footage you'll see here will be the upgraded PlayStation 5 version. So, naturally, I played this game with my wife. We aren't on the verge of divorce, but this is the first game that we beat together, so naturally, we wanted to talk about it. Now, this doesn't count Streets of Rage 4, which doesn't take but a few hours to beat, though we have probably spent more time playing that game than we have playing It Takes Two. This was the first story-driven narrative that we had beaten. We loved it so much that we got Hazelight's other two-person co-op narrative, A Way Out. It had an interesting narrative, but was held back by being set in the real world. The mechanics just weren't as compelling as they are here. In It Takes Two, we played as the part of May and Cody respectively. One of these days I am going to go back and play as May, but for now I chose to give Cody another run. May is presented as a very business-driven, straight, type A personality person, very uptight and kind of stuck up. Cody seems much more like a laid-back buffoon. Needless to say, they seem to have little in common and have come to realize it. They have decided that it is time to call quits and get a divorce. The passion has drained out of their lives and their relationship. Cody keeps pushing to tell their daughter Rose about it, but she already knows as she hears them from her bedroom window. During a meal, they let her know that they have thought long and hard, and they have decided to end their marriage. She doesn't really respond and instead asks to go play in her room. Character models for the humans are definitely not the best. It is probably best that you spend most of your time as dolls. So yeah, she goes to her room, grabs the little effigies of her parents, and sneaks out of the house and into the barn where she has a book, Dr. Hakim's Book of Love. She talks to the dolls, saying everything she wants to say to her parents, telling them that love is work and that they should stay together. At last she breaks down into tears and they cascade down over the two dolls, making a wish that her parents could be friends again. Not long after, Cody's doll stirs and realizes that something is wrong. He reasonably starts to freak out when he realizes that he is in the body of a doll. His panicking quickly wakes May, who is also inhabiting her doll, and she has an appropriately shocked reaction as well before turning and blaming Cody for this situation. This prompts Dr. Hakim to appear. This guy's accent is a bit of a stereotype, but he doesn't get too overwhelmingly annoying. He tells them both that their relationship is broken and that he has promised Rose that he would fix them. Both May and Cody clearly don't want to be fixed and are looking forward to divorcing. As someone whose parents separated early, this hit me in the feels, but they both went on to meet the loves of their lives later, so not every divorce is a bad thing. But I digress. So we decided to ignore the book and try to get to Rose to figure out how to get out of this situation. As they try to activate the stairs, the fuses pop off and run away. May and Cody try to come to terms with their new reality, where a book is talking, fuses are walking, and they are made out of wood and clay. One little fuse in particular leads them on quite the chase, where you have to learn a few of the game's mechanics, and how this relies on teamwork. It Takes Two is not a game that you can play by yourself. As they get close to their goal, Dr. Hakim shows back up to stop them from reaching Rose and introducing the first obstacle to overcome, a vacuum cleaner. The book tells the vacuum who these two are, and the vacuum is furious. He blames Cody for sucking up all the junk that ruined his insides, and blames May for promising to fix him and then stuffing him out of sight and forgetting about him forever. So, he sucks them up and spits them out, far away from where Rose is. The book shows back up to tell them that to reach Rose, they have to reach the vacuum by working together. So they do just that. By working together through several puzzles, they finally make their way back to the vacuum, and a boss battle commences. Working together, May and Cody show just how psychotic they are by tearing out the vacuum's eyeballs and then feeding it to him. As they continue on their journey to get to Rose, and they meet up with a hammerhead that is incomplete because he's missing his handle. At this point, they introduce the first of what will be many in-game mechanics. It's almost like a signal that a new chapter has begun because they will switch the gimmick you are allowed to do with each level. The first one has May using the hammerhead to swing from nail to nail and to smash things to get them out of the way, or to bring something into place. The nails are launched by Cody in strategically placed areas that allow her to make her way about, or to use them to pin things in place. The hammerhead tells them that dying of rust is like slowly burning alive. So May says she can help. They just need to get to the toolbox. And she tells the hammerhead that if he helps them get to Rose, they'll help fix him and save his friends. He agrees, and the chase is on to get the toolbox. On our way to get it, the book shows up to introduce what he calls couples challenges. What these are, basically, are little mini games that you can play for a little friendly competition. The first game is Whack-A-Cody, basically whack-a-mole, and it is a little bit of fun that had me and my wife laughing our butts off. These are just little things that occur throughout the game in various forms. It's fun little stuff to do that they didn't have to add, but did just for the hell of it. This has nothing to do with the main mission, but it's just a fun way to kill time. When we reach the toolbox, it quickly becomes clear that it doesn't want us anywhere near him. He keeps launching nails to get us. I sadly got caught by way too many times by these. My wife and I have to work together to take on this challenge. When we finally reach it, a mini-boss ensues. This is a very creative and can be a challenge under the right circumstances. When it becomes clear that negotiating won't work with him, we decide instead to blow his mind. Upon defeating it, all the friendly tools praise my wife. Because of course they do. Now that the hammer is whole, through a scene that sounds a bit dirty if you take away the video.
Hey, look at that!
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm so ready for this. Ooh, it tickles. It tickles. Ha! There you go. Thank you.
He holds up his end of the bargain, ushering us onto a saw and assuring us that it is very precise. Turns out it was. We are launched right next to Rose, just as she turns to leave. The book shows up to prevent us from reaching Rose, and he shuts the door. They decide that the best course of action is to reach the window by gliding along rails. Apparently, wood and clay can just rub across harsh surfaces, kicking off sparks as long as they want without any damage or friction burns. The more you know. Once at the window, they encounter another friendly helper in May's old binoculars. She tells them that what happened right before they became dolls, that Rose was in there crying over them. This leads Cody to believe that it was a spell. May is skeptical, and this confuses me. You are currently a wooden doll, having fought a sentient vacuum and toolbox. Why are you trying to apply logic? Cody starts to believe that they need to make her cry, and I'm wondering, how are you going to do that?
You little hairy little licking sucker.
So off they go, still on the journey to reach Rose, but now with the belief that it will break the spell by making her cry. We climb out onto a tree, and a swinging mechanic is introduced and given to both of us by Dr. Hakim. With this, we make our way across the tree. When we reach a dead end, May decides to knock on some random door in the tree. This leads us to being captured and tied up by squirrels and murdered multiple times by wasps, all wrapped up in a family-friendly package so you don't have to realize you are watching two humans die multiple times in front of you, you sick bastards. While we're being detained, it pans to Rose, who comes into Cody's office and tries to talk to him about the Book of Love. She tells him that he should forgive her mum so they can be friends again. She offers to let him read the book, but feels rejected when he doesn't respond. So she leaves, and it breaks my heart along with it. When the squirrels realize that we are no friends to the wasps on account that they keep killing us, they decide that we might be useful in their little turf war. So the military squirrel chief fits us with weapons. Cody getting a weapon that shoots out flammable sap that can also be used to weigh things down, while May gets a weapon that lights and shoots matches that can ignite the sap. We work our way through the tree as we have been shanghaied into helping the squirrels. Cody is distrustful while May thinks that they might actually follow through with their agreement. They argue as always, and Cody says he is so ready for the divorce in one breath, and in the next panic second he's asking May what he needs to do. Sounds like love to me. With weapons in hand, we use them in various ways to get to the Wasp Queen, that we have been assured is a squirrel trader disguised as a robot. Along the way, my wife decides to torture me for a bit. The funny thing is, she wasn't doing it on purpose. She just didn't realize that the giant red button that said, "Stop," meant that it would let me out. On the way, we encounter a shield wasp mini-boss. This is fun teamwork, and we had to take turns getting behind him, but together, we took him down. Past him, we go into the vault, which leads to the hive. We hear the queen speaking about us and telling her minions to bring us, dead or alive. Cody begins to have misgivings, and the book shows up to call him a coward. Here is where we see the first change in May, as she actually sticks up for Cody and helps cover for him. It's a subtle shift that starts to take place over the course of the game. We continue to collaborate and work together to get closer to the queen. Here we encounter another mini-boss, though this one is different type of wasp. Instead of charging in behind a shield like the shield wasp, this one plays keep away while shooting balls of energy at us. It doesn't take long to take her out, and we are one step closer to the queen. Once we get past her, we encounter another horde of bees that collapse the ground we stand on, leading to a slide into an underground water system. May, being an engineer, figures out that Cody can use the sap to propel ourselves on top of a barrel top that is conveniently placed next to the water. As we go along, it turns out that the wasps not only can survive in water, but they can whip up water funnels and make them move. Nature surely is fascinating. As we make our way back up and closer to the hive, we are trapped in an arena and forced to fight against a beetle in a Colosseum-type battle where we have to lure it into certain spots and ignite the sap because it won't stick to him. After he takes enough damage, the poor beetle cries mercy, says he was just a mercenary being paid in nectar. So we offer to let him have all the nectar he wants if he'll help us reach the queen. He agrees and off we go! As we get to the hive, we decide that we've had enough of the beetle and drop him like a sack of potatoes as we go crashing down onto the platform. There we encounter the fake Wasp Queen and more of her minions, and thus the real boss battle commences. We take her on, and while it takes a while as there are multiple stages to the boss as we destroy the robot bit by bit, and the battle against her hordes of bees that are trying to destroy us and protect their imposter. Ultimately, we are victorious, and it turns out that the squirrel trader, in fact, isn't a squirrel at all. It's a bumblebee masquerading as a wasp. And, in fact, she's also hoarding all the wasp's nectar as well. When the other wasps find this out, they're furious and decide that we all need to die. We barely escape as May pulls off a badass heroine moment in slow motion. Once you come crashing down, the bumblebee is in distress. She wanted to feel special and feel important. So Cody, who is a nature fanatic, tells her just how important bees are to the world. And this perks her up, just in time for the military squirrel and the squad to show up and see us talking to the bumblebee instead of killing it outright. Feeling this is a betrayal, the squirrels prove that they have worse aim than the stormtroopers, as they have us dead to rights and miss. I mean, come on, look at this. The bee proves why she paired up with the rodents by showing exactly how squirrely she is. As soon as we are safe, she flies away. With no other options, May tells Cody to get on the makeshift plane made out of a bottle, hanger, can of butane gas, and a pair of underwear, among other things. This leads to a section of me flying and my wife providing fire support. Once we escape the innards of the tree, the military squirrel comes jumping from on high to kick the gunner's nest off the plane. This leads me to basically fly the plane, which didn't take much, and watch my wife fight the squirrel. She pulls off some pretty cool moves, and after she manages to kick his furry ass, May comes in to save Cody at the last second. As they fly towards the house, we go and get to see what Rose is up to. She talks to her mother, thinking she is simply lying down with a headache. She shows May Moon Baboon and says that they should play together with him sometime. She also tries to suggest that Cody wants to be friends again and that they should talk. When her mother doesn't respond, she walks away, dejected. As we land, so close to Rose, Dr. Hakim shows up to ask us if we're really ready to talk to her. We say that we are, and both decide to ignore him together as we set off to talk to her. As Cody and May talk about the plan to make Rose cry to break the spell, someone overhears their conversation. When we reach a barrier that we have to get past by doing a hacking minigame, just as we're about to win, a counter-hack occurs that ends with us being beamed up away from Rose. Turns out that Moon Baboon was the one listening earlier, and he considers us enemies for trying to bring Rose to cry. This makes us public enemy number 1 to him. His mission is to protect Rose at all costs. And to that end, he will not see reason and tells us that we will be stuck there forever right before taking off. May, starting to get the swing of this new reality, uses some of Rose's toys, and we get our new tool set for this space-age adventure. May gets magnetic boots that allow her to travel on the walls and the ceiling. Cody gets to
Shrink into small, tiny figures that allows him to fit into small spaces, or to become
really big and use his size in certain situations.
Though I have to be careful with my size because sometimes it can get into trouble. We travel through 3 portals and solve the puzzles to activate an anti-gravity lift to head up. As we do, May and Cody bicker because Cody is feeling nauseous and doesn't like being in zero gravity, while May finds it to be fun and enjoyable. To me, this seems a bit of a backward situation. To me, it would make more sense for the woman who has her nose to the grindstone, who is very business-minded, to be uncomfortable and not feeling stable. Therefore, it would make more sense for her to feel uncomfortable in zero-G, while the more laid-back, fun-loving Cody seems like he would be able to roll with it. Instead, it's the opposite. When Dr. Hakim shows up, Cody turns his annoyance onto him, and they start to bicker before May tells them both to shut up. As we arrive on the platform, we are greeted by 3 more portals. How fun. Together we have to solve the puzzles of each of these before getting to the top, where we have to work together to get past the security that Moon Baboon has set into place once we got so far. Once we do, we find a surveillance center where Moon Baboon has been keeping track of Rose's well-being. It's kind of touching, and yet
Super creepy.
But they realize that it shows a decisive drop in Rose's happiness and amount of laughter. Both May and Cody instantly dismiss this and are not able to cope with the fact that Rose has sensed something was wrong. And they have been arguing a lot lately. Cody has the brilliant idea to hit the red button, and as Men in Black has taught me,
oh, the red button there, kid. Don't ever touch the red button.
They are floated up to another platform where Moon Baboon comes down in a spaceship and declares war on them as traitors to Rose. The fight lasts a while and has several stages that includes dodging lasers, riding rockets, and Cody having to
shrink again and get inside Moon Baboon's ship
and make his way around to disable it. I have to say, the gameplay for basically everything they did, every different type of gameplay element, from the weapon aiming to the swinging to the even flying around rockets, feels so good to do and fun to play. I have seen many games with less mechanics that aren't nearly as refined as all of the ones in this game. Climbing around as Cody inside the little ship was a blast to do. And looking back on the footage, I didn't realize how crazy it got outside the ship while I was running around inside. I never looked over to see. I was staying focused on my own mission. Once I eject Moon Baboon from his seat, May and I take over his ship, and he goes on the run as we give chase. I have to guide my wife to his direction on radar. She drives like a drunken Martian with a learner's permit, but I forgive her. Once we take him down, he insists that Rose is his best friend. And then Cody gives him a wake-up call, and May makes a suggestion.
Hello, she hasn't played with you for years. Okay? You've been monitoring her. Come on, just pay attention.
Maybe we can help you become friends again.
Huh? You think so?
Yes. I can ask Rose to play with you again. But you have to help us get back to her.
When we finally get to Rose, it turns out it has all been for nothing because she cannot even see or feel us, as we smack on her arm and cry out to her. This leads May and Cody to decide that the best way to get Rose to cry is to destroy her favorite toy. Then they celebrate the idea. So are we keeping track? These two have sucked out of Vacuum's eyeballs and fed it to him, lied, used, manipulated, and gotten rid of whoever they needed to get to their daughter, only to decide that the best course of action is to take her most prized possession and destroy it. Are we sure these are the good guys? Then we have to go through all of her toys. May and Cody bicker back and forth, and it is much less harsh than before. It almost seems good-natured. A slow change is beginning to happen with the two, though there is still the occasion where my wife gets me killed, with some payback on the way. Getting through her toys is like a trip through a funhouse, though this time there is a threat of a ball pit below. How horrifying. As we get past the eternal ball pit, we make our way up the abacus. Then we have to do homework which involves memory, math, and connecting the dots. I think I like everything but connecting the dots. I'm not an artist. After this, it's back to Toyland and we have to solve more puzzles, turn a few valves, and get access to another cool mechanic, gliding using fidget spinners. As we make progress, Dr. Hakim pulls us into a kaleidoscope, and this is a pretty mind-bending event. I would love to trip on acid and play the section of this game. Not that I have any experience with that or any interaction with drugs. Drugs are bad, kids. Ask Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson. So, after we escape the kaleidoscope, we continue on with our psychotic quests to murder a sentient elephant. We get on a track that Cody says will lead straight to the castle where the elephant is. This leads them into a boat and a ship combat that is either the least poorly implemented thing in the game, or my wife and I just couldn't steer together. Once you get past a bunch of enemies, you encounter the cute, silly octopus that wants nothing more than to hold us with all of his tentacles. Very, very tightly. Since I don't like hugs that much, my wife and I decide to shoot it in the face. A lot. Past the octopus, we get closer to the castle only to find the bridge is raised and held up by a balloon. Not to worry though, a Jackie in the box is there to be helpful. Turns out, in order to prove our worth, we have to lower the bridge by popping the balloon. Much obliged. When we get to the castle, we are surrounded by guards, and we try to bluff our way past, only for Dr. Hakim to pop up and tell the head guard that we're there to kill the elephant, who, by the way, is in fact the queen. As a result, we are captured, and May has to use her wits to figure out how to get out of the prison cell. As we hide from the guards by wearing disguises, those disguises become real.
And I become a frost-flinging wizard, while my wife becomes a flame-sword-wielding knight.
Together we go off on a Diablo-inspired quest to escape the guards. One really large, creepy doll, and we get to play a weird game of wizard's chess. Strange, as I just finished watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone the night before I played this, so I thought this was funny. I do appreciate the creative ways that they use the different pieces for chess. The king only hops from space to space one at a time, like he does in real chess. The queen can move in any direction as many spaces as she wants, but it has to be in a straight line, or diagonally. But alas, they are no match for me and my queen. When we reach the gate to the castle, we are fried by electricity and lose our magic outfits, and go back to being just plain May and Cody. When we get to the queen, it quickly becomes something of a bumbling comedy mixed with some serious horror elements, as we tear off one of her legs and then an ear before dropping her off a building like Hans Gruber from Die Hard. Happy trails, cutie. I swear, if you played horror music over this moment and added a little blood, the context would change to something much darker. After they manage to savagely murder the poor toy, it does in fact make Rose cry, and they celebrate, bathing in their daughter's tears with exhilaration, only to soon realize it has been for nothing and they are still stuck in these bodies. May instantly becomes despondent, and Cody discovers a note from Rose, but before he can read all of it, Dr. Hakim shows up and shreds it into 4 pieces and sends us off to find them. In the first place, we have to follow another doll version of ourselves on the tracks and make them meet once again. May gets the ability to clone herself, which just allows her to basically teleport from one place to another, predetermined place instantly, while Cody gets the ability to reverse time. Those are basic abilities and don't function outside of what they're just supposed to do. Then we set about solving all the puzzles to get to the first piece. We have to ride some metal birds to get to 2 small clock towers to solve their puzzles to get into the large clock tower. Inside the large tower, we make our way even higher, solving the different puzzles in the way. At certain points, it is very clear that the clock is trying to kill us and wants to absolutely stop us from reaching our goal. And it's about time, it learns a lesson. Turns out that there's a big metal bird in the tower that wants us dead as well, and does everything it can to make it a reality. As we knock it out of the sky and get to the center of the clock, it decides that it's close enough and does what it can to end us. Suddenly, we are falling through an endless shaft where the clock continues its relentless attempt to kill us. May thinks about what to do as Cody panics and tells her to think faster. All of a sudden, we are pulled back up the shaft as time is rewinded back before we started falling. Then the clock tower decides it's round 2. After it's over, the tower decides that it would rather self-destruct than lose. Cody realizes that he is the master of time and they have to figure out how to get around the exploding clock tower. Then he gives the clock a shot to its heart, and together May and Cody wind the clock so that Cody and May can meet up. They replace their counterparts' dolls on the track and meet up in the middle. And as they get close together, you can almost feel the chemistry back in their relationship. Dr. Hakim takes them from the tower to their next lesson. This one is about attraction. He tells them that they have lost theirs and need to work together to find it. He then casts them into a snowy landscape and they land in the cold. The book shows up shortly after to give us magnets. One is red and one is blue, or plus and minus. Red is attracted to blue but repelled by red, and the opposite holds true. In this winter wonderland, Cody and May start to actually work together as a group and talk with each other. In their conversation, they have switched from dislike to something closer to what their relationship had been once upon a time. May takes time to compliment Cody, and he compliments her, though it is something he would probably have done anyways. To solve this puzzle, we have to unfreeze the once bustling town represented within the confines of the snow globe they are in. This requires them to ring a few bells to thaw things out. This leads them to some slimy situations, including into the guts of a whale, and into water. In the water, we are hired to fix a candy-making factory. Why is it underwater?
Don't know.
But we have to fix it. And you guessed, there are 3 pipes that we have to fix in order to make sure the factory is up and running again. Why 3? Because it's always 3. To do this, we have to avoid fish, use the magnets to get around, and ultimately, once it is done, we get delivered to a lighthouse. We light it up and then ski back down the mountain. When we get to our ultimate destination, we realize what this has all been leading to. This was the place where Cody proposed to May. They reminisce about the old times fondly. And here they share a moment with each other before the book shows up to ruin it, and then takes them to get their third piece of the letter. The third lesson is about Cody's passion, how he wanted to be a gardener. But he felt that May never took an interest, never supported him in what he did. May instantly becomes defensive, and Hakim tells them that they need to rediscover Cody's passion, and then they are dropped into his garden. It is a very unhealthy garden, and is infected with a purple rot that has spread everywhere. Hakim gives Cody the ability to become one with his plants. May gets a scythe and a water sprayer. When Cody sees the condition of his garden, he is angered that he let his passion fall into such despair. He is determined to cleanse his garden and asks May for help, and she is more than enthusiastic about it. Turns out that it isn't just his garden, the entire greenhouse is infected as well. Then Hakim shows Cody a very sick, infected plant. Cody is shocked to find out that it is Joy, the first plant he ever planted, and she is named thus because he always wanted to have Joy in the family. He can look at her and tell that she's in a lot of pain because the infection has taken hold deep inside of her. In order to reach her, we befriend some cute, cuddly-looking spiders. I never thought I'd utter those words, but here we are. This one spider I wouldn't mind having, though I definitely wouldn't want to ride it, but a pet wouldn't be bad. We get deeper in and have to use a stealth ability to get around a bunch of moles. When my wife told me we had to be quiet, I actually whispered back to her, "Oh, right." However, the stealth only lasts for so long before we blow up a plant that collapses what we're standing on and alerts the entire colony that we're there, and it becomes a run for our lives. We use one particular mole as a trampoline for a bit, before failing to drop down the one time they expected us to drop down a hole instead of jumping over it. When we do fall, it becomes a wild ride out of there, and we come across 2 frogs who serve as taxis. One sounds French, and the other sounds like he's from somewhere in New England, or thereabouts. We use them to get back to the greenhouse, and from there we get to Joy, and she screeches, clearly lost in the pain due to infection. She turns me into a tomato, and May gives me hell before we have to battle. Then I get turned into a potato, and lastly, a lime. They all control the same. I roll around and dash between mobs of enemies, and we do damage to Joy. Because it is a game, just like I got turned into 3 objects, 2 veggies, and a fruit, we have to go through 3 phases to take off 3 infected pods before Joy is restored to her former glory. Cody apologizes for neglecting to take care of her and the entire garden. Then May apologizes for not understanding how important the garden was for Cody. Joy drops a truth on Cody's head.
That's good. But it's not your fault Cody gave up on being a partner.
But aren't partners supposed to encourage each other? How was I supposed to keep going if she didn't believe in me?
No one can take your dream from you unless you give it up.
Lesson learned, they are taken from the greenhouse back to Dr. Hakim's therapy hour. Turns out the 4th and final lesson is also about passion, but instead it is about May's passion this time. She has been so lost in working and being an adult and providing for her family that she has forgot about having fun. She has forgotten about how much she loves to sing, and so Dr. Hakim decides that it is time for her to find her long-lost voice. May says that singing doesn't pay the bills, and Cody tells her that doesn't mean that you should give up on something you're passionate about. Like me in this YouTubing thing. Hell, I'm not making any money out of it right now. I'm just doing it for fun. And for the few people that watch it and enjoy it, I hope you have a good time. Because this is something that I am passionate about, though I have a very encouraging wife who has been constantly encouraging me to keep going. They appear in the attic, and Dr. Hakim reveals what they're going to need to do. May is going to have to sing. We only need lights, a microphone, and speakers. Because, of course, 3 things. And we get our last ability of the game. May gets the ability to use her voice, and Cody gets a symbol that he can basically use like Captain America's shield. Using the power of May's voice and my mighty symbol, we make our way to get the speakers. Next, we move on, and May has to use her voice to keep me from getting eaten by snake-like microphones. That is until one really big one gives chase. And this scene is pretty cool, with the music thrumming and the microphone snakes slithering around and destroying everything around us. Defeating it grants us a microphone. Lastly, we use the lights to move about. I feel that they did this backwards, and that May should have been the one who had to learn to move about in the spotlight while Cody stood in the shadows and made sure that she shined. Missed opportunity, but again, this is only my opinion. When we get all 3 items, Dr. Hakim informs us that they need more things. Naturally, they're going to need an audience to hear her perform and an orchestra to play for her. May insists that she's not going to sing, and Cody encourages and supports her the entire time. So we set off to find the orchestra. We get jetpacks to use as we get up into the clouds. We fight devils to save the orchestra, and then we have to go to a nightclub to find an audience. In order to go to the club, we have to slide on our asses down Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. Now, it's a legit ripoff. Even Cody says, "It's a me, Cody." When we finally drop into the club, turns out that we're a total drag and no one wants to hang with us. So we decide to liven up the dance floor and see if we can get some glow sticks back. DJing it up, we get the party pumping until there's a large crowd. Then Dr. Hakim commits wholesale kidnap as he takes multiple club patrons and forces them to be an audience to the makeshift concert. This game is a lot darker than I thought. Right before the start of the concert, May is having a panic attack backstage. I can sympathize. The first time that I performed in a musical in front of people, I had about the same reaction. My voice didn't sound as good as hers, though. Cody goes to get the lights and everything ready, and May prepares to walk out on stage and for once give into her passion. She takes one last look in the mirror and turns to walk towards the stage. As Cody goes to prepare the lights, it is very clear that he's excited for May. It is clear that he wants everything to be perfect and for her to shine as bright as a star. It is clear that Cody still loves her. As May walks past the orchestra, she gingerly greets them before peeking out at the crowd. Hakim tells her that she can do it, that he believes in her, and she takes a step out onto the stage. As she does, the record player she's standing on starts to play, drawing young Rose's attention. Now, while I have skipped over most of Rose's scenes, she has noticed certain things around the house happening as her parents go on this journey. The snow globe starts working, the flowers start to bloom, the clock starts working, and even the music player. She has been an integral part of the story. She appears in a jacket and speaks softly to her mother, telling her that she found her favorite song and that she could listen to it after she gets better from her headache. As May steps out before the microphone, Cody softly encourages her as he turns the lights on. She looks out at the crowd for a long moment before finally singing. The melody is lovely, but has no lyrics. It's simply vocalizing. It is lovely, and as she sings, her and Cody rise into the air and are brought together one final time. They look into each other's eyes, and for the first time in a long time, there is love in those eyes. They have both found passion for life and for each other again. And as they slowly move in, they embrace and kiss in a sweet moment that hits me in the feels and makes me want to give my wife a kiss. At last, the spell is broken and they wake up in their bodies. Instantly, they find each other and ask where Rose is. They find her room empty and at last get the note that Rose has written.
Hey,
What?
the letter.
Dear Mum and Dad, I'm sorry that I did this to you. I know how to make everything good again. All you have to do is stop fighting. I know I'm not a perfect daughter.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry I don't like to brush my teeth. I'm sorry I read books after bedtime. I'm sorry I don't put my toys where they should be. I know it's my fault you want a divorce.
She's blaming herself.
She thinks it's her fault.
I'll leave you alone so you can become friends again. You should be friends. I love you, Mum. I love you, Dad.
They rush to the bus stop to find her. They explain what she doesn't understand, that none of their problems are because of her, that no matter what happens, they will love her forever. I love how they leave this a bit up in the air about what might happen. Now, obviously, the lovey-dovey ending is what is implied, but it never says for sure. The game was just as fun to play the second time as it was the first, and I cannot wait to play it again someday for the third time. But this time I will finally play as May and get all the cool gadgets. That's one thing I said apparently on both playthroughs, according to my wife, right before Cody says the exact same thing. I have enjoyed my time with this game, and I think that it is polished and definitely deserved Game of the Year. While some of the voice acting is a bit cartoonish, the story it tells actually left me in tears at the end. This game has many different gameplay mechanics, and in a day and age when something like the Callisto Protocol feels half-baked with few gameplay mechanics, this feels like they took time to build the gameplay before they did anything else. Everything is so smooth and satisfying to play with. Even the mini-games were awesome fun. The people at Hazelight deserve all the praise they got for this game. Hell, even my hero, Hidetaka Miyazaki, referred to them as one of the few games that he had gotten to beat in the last few years. So that just makes me love it even more. If I were to add a weakness, it is probably Dr. Hakim. After so long, he does become a bit annoying. I understand that they wanted him to be irksome and that the characters are annoyed with him, but they could have toned him down just a little bit. I like how he was acting right at the end when he was calm and talking to May in a very somber and serious voice. Now, I know that that wouldn't have been a fun character to listen to through the entire game, but they could have found something between completely somber and the whack job we got. Other than that, they did a fantastic job portraying Cody and May. Not only does each character move fundamentally different, but many of their animations are clearly only for them. When May is running, she's a go-getter. She's leaning forward and dashing. Cody is more leaned back, and his running shows it. May's movements are much more graceful, while Cody's are much more oafish and comical. It is a very small attention to detail that I appreciate. They handle exactly the same, minus the different gadgets. But as I played as May for a little bit, I was struck at how different her movement animations were. They could have easily had them both move in the exact same way, but no. Every movement, from the way they walk, the way they jump, the way they run, the way they hold certain objects. Even when the spinning wheels, Cody slaps them with his hands while May gets on it and he uses it like a Stairmaster. It is these little things that make it so special. Every time we were introduced to a new mechanic, we were slowly allowed to figure out how to use it before they made anything too complicated. As I said earlier, other than the boat wheel rowing, which very well may have been user error, everything felt amazing to play. And all the ways you get to play around in this game are remarkable. Winning Game of the Year against Deathloop and Psychonauts 2? No surprise. Winning against Resident Evil Village and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart? That's actually pretty cool. I am glad that I got to experience this game before it won Game of the Year. It wasn't something I got just because it won and it was part of the hype train. No, I played it well before. I never expected a game like this to win Game of the Year, though, to be fair, I don't think about Game of the Year. I am not one of those people that cares about what a bunch of gaming journalists and yada yada say Game of the Year is. It's all political most of the time anyway, so why do I pay attention? If I enjoy a game, I enjoy it because it's good, not because some award told me it was good. I will cherish all the hours I have put into this game. So that's it for me. What did you think? Did you like this game, or think that it was absolute rubbish? Let me know in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time here in the Twisted Nightmare Studio.
Bingo!
I'm starting to get this music.
Squawk, squawk! Great teamwork, bird buddy.
Mine is still cuter.